Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on John's Briefs today. Here again with Terry Johnson from Firearms Legal Protection. And today I want to talk about prosecution discretion and whether or not this is a good thing. Today's video is brought to us by Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline and plans designed specifically for self-defenders. They are offering a discount on their plan to Ask fans, so hit the link in the description for that. Well, Terry, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and I always appreciate your insights. You teach me something every time.
I'm glad I can, John. I'm just sharing what I know. So.
And also, for all you guys, listen, Firearms Legal Protection has been a huge supporter of active self-protection, and Terry flew all the way here to Phoenix and just to sit here with us and do these videos. So I hope you appreciate how much Firearms Legal Protection puts for their customers and for us at Active Self-Protection. I trust the fight after the fight to these guys, and so I just want to say how much I appreciate you, man.
And we appreciate you and all your subscribers. Thank you very much.
One last thing. There's an Easter egg. Something changed in our background from the last time Terry was on. If you can name what it is, you win one internet. Tell me what it is in the comments. So let's talk about prosecutorial discretion. There's discretion on multiple levels here.
There is.
So you have, first of all, to some extent, the responding officers have discretion on how they're going to write this up and what they recommend.
Correct. They do.
Detectives have some discretion what they recommend to the district attorney. The district attorney has some discretion on what they will prosecute and what they won't. The judge has some discretion on what they'll allow and what they won't.
Correct.
So there seems like there's an awful lot of wiggle room here. Do you think that's a good thing?
I think it's a great thing because if you look at the law, not every circumstance is the same. So let me give you an example. Let's take driving, for example. What if I'm driving down the street and I run a stop sign? Now, again, it's a no-brainer. You ran a stop sign.
Yeah, you broke the law.
You broke the law. Well, what if my pregnant wife is in the car and I'm taking her to the hospital because her water just broke? Should I have to stop? Should I be given a ticket for that? What if I'm just a 15-year-old kid and I just decide, hey, I don't want to stop? Same act.
Two very different things.
But two very different things.
So this cuts me deep because I got pulled over for running a stop sign a couple of weeks ago. Right, actually, it was 2 days 2 days before I was training Phoenix's PD Firearms Training Unit 2. It was kind of funny, and I was grateful for discretion that day. I was in my neighborhood, and I rolled a stop sign. Maybe didn't even hardly roll it, mostly ignored it. And just so happened there was a marked cruiser there, and of course I see him, I was like, oh boy, he's gonna pull me over. He did, he ran my license, and he's like, hey man, when he walks up, he said, yeah, I just didn't see me there, did you? And I was like, nope, sure didn't. And he's, after a minute, hey, do me a favor, stop at the stop sign, would you? Handed me my license, and I carried on the day. So I was grateful for discretion that day.
But think about the position you're in. I'm going to make some assumptions here, which I'm pretty sure are true. I'm sure you've got a great driving record.
I do.
Nothing on it. And if you think about that, the officer will say, you know what, this guy just made a mistake, probably wasn't paying attention. But what if you had 5 points?
Right. I got a bunch of tickets on my record already. Nah, he's going to probably hook me up at that point.
Yeah, so, you've got that's where that discretion comes in. And as you move through the, I'll call it the chain at this point, it gets up to the prosecutor. Sometimes the prosecutor looks at a bigger picture than just this particular incident. So, for example, we had something back in Michigan a few years ago where a guy actually shot a person. He was shooting at a dog, but he ended up shooting a person. I can't remember if it was a male or female, but this person died. So what message does a prosecutor want to send? Okay. One of the first things I learned in crim law and law school is you got to do something with the body. You just can't say, oh, well, I'm not going to do anything.
Right.
So there was a charge there. Now, could it have been higher? Absolutely. It could have been potentially murder.
Yeah, murder. Reckless homicide for sure.
Absolutely.
Manslaughter.
But the prosecutor in this case, the charge I think that was put out was pretty appropriate, and they exercised some discretion there. And you think of cases, especially as it relates to firearms owners and discretion. Think about this. What if I pull my gun and I point it at someone who I believe is coming at me and I'm defending myself? Now notice I didn't say shoot, I just said pull out.
Yeah, I just said point, yeah.
So at that point we're looking at, again, depending on the state you're in, you're probably looking at aggravated use of a weapon, In Michigan, where I'm from, it's felony firearm. That carries a mandatory
2, yeah,
mandatory 2. So do I want to send a guy away for a mistake?
right.
Probably
yeah,
not.
mistake of fact. You're like, I don't really want to charge that.
But I also have to be conscious of the entire jurisdiction that I'm in.
Right.
So while I may not beat you over the head with it, I still have to punish you some way, somehow.
Yeah, and I think, I guess I think this goes both ways, because sometimes you might look at somebody that has a big history of stuff and say, no, I'm going to issue discretion here, and I'm just going to throw the book at this guy because we need to put him away for a long time. So I'm going to find every ticky-tacky thing in the universe because I'm done with him.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. And you mentioned judicial discretion is, judges decide what comes in and what doesn't come in. I mean, it's amazing when people say, well, one of the first things I always think about is, I've got a trial. Where am I at? What city? What
Right.
county? Then what judge do I have? Now think about it from let's say a professor standpoint, or better yet, a instructor like yourself. Certain things you do,
Yeah,
and
are
there's
unique to me.
are unique to you, and there's
Yeah.
certain things that other instructors do. Now, are all the rules of firearms the same? They're the same, but how you let them in, how you do things are so different.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
So
I guess I never thought about the fact that judges would be the same, because it seems so cut and dried, but they have their own flavor and their own personality too.
yeah.
I learned something today.
So like hearsay in one place, unless it's, it could be completely different. I can tell you this for a fact. I've walked out of room A, literally, walked into room B, which is like 10 feet away, 2 different judges, same argument, 2 different results.
Huh. Wow. In terms of, and I mean, they get to allow their certain, because in discovery, what evidence is going to be admitted, what's the standard for that? It should be the same, but there's going to be discretion there too.
Well, again, it's all about how you interpret things. That's really what it comes down to. Now, there are things they have to do. There are statutory things that judges have to do, but there is room for discretion in there.
Yeah. So I guess the question from a firearms owner's perspective is, because I see people, I think the ones that make the news in the gun guy world, and in the self-defense world are times when it seems like people get prosecuted unnecessarily. You see the case of the woman who's from Pennsylvania, and she wanders into New Jersey unknowingly and gets hooked up for a felony.
Yeah.
And you go, come on, guys. I mean, have a brain in your head. I also kind of wonder about how many times has that happened and a cop said, okay, you're going to go right here, you're going to turn right, you're going to turn right again, and you're going to get across my state lines, and I never want to see you again. I wonder how many times that happens.
Well, the question becomes, was she the first one, or was she the 101st one?
Yeah.
And again, nothing against, and I'm sorry, her name escapes me right now.
Too.
But, I'm glad the end result was, hey, we're going to let this go away. But was the prosecutor in the state of New Jersey at that point sending a message to the folks in Pennsylvania and elsewhere? At this point, stay out. Don't come in. If you have a gun, do X, Y, and Z. I mean, it's just like our friends in Chicago. We know we can't go to Chicago or California or certain places with guns, and we know not to try it. Why? Because the people who've gone before us,
it ends ugly.
And those rules have been set down. I mean, just think of it, you as a parent. There are things that you do, you only do it once. You send a message to your kids, and it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. So I guess my big lesson for this that I'm taking out of this, Terry, I'd love your thoughts, is I don't want to put myself at the mercy of the discretion of the prosecutor. I would rather have my defensive actions be so cut and dried and so reasonable in the eyes of so many that the prosecutor goes, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna prosecute that because I can't.
Exactly, and that gets back to what we're just talking about. Following good instructions like you get from you, following, the rules that are out there, and again, not going off the rails. Do what you're supposed to do, and if you do these things, a prosecutor should look at this and say, this is not a guy or woman that I want to go through and prosecute. I don't want to send a message using this person.
So even though it's there and you might get away with things, I think of one we had in Pennsylvania here not too long ago. A guy put about 15 rounds in an armed robber, and the prosecutor said, man, I'm not going to prosecute him. That's okay. And everybody I watched it with went, oh, geez, stop shooting. Oh, too much. What are you doing? But the prosecutor let him get away with it. I don't want to put myself in that kind of condition. So make sure
with
that
you.
you fall on the conservative side of that. Terry, I appreciate the info as always, man.
Thanks, my pleasure.